Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1969A, and today's date is September 13th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Smoke and Mirrors. This is what economic control looks like. Now, any way you look at it, the 45th president of the U.S. has made a massive impact on the world stage in 3 years he's been in office. Here at home, there have been a few firsts. His ongoing battle to drain the swamp is still being fought. That's a first. And Noble Gold put together their first. Their best-selling Trump 2020 Freedom Solid Silver Coin and United We Stand 10-ounce solid silver bullion bar together in one package at a special discounted price. Go to TrumpCoin2020.com and use the code X22Report25 and you'll save $25 on this incredible package. So click the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the mainstream media, the deep state, the central bankers, they like to use smoke and mirrors to make you think that something is happening when it really isn't. And they do this by continually putting it out there. And if every news agency carries it, it must be true. And guess what? As we've learned, this is not the case. And we're starting to see this all over the place. I mean, take a look at the United States. From the mainstream media, what do we have? Recession is coming, recession is coming, recession is coming. All indicators point to a recession. Now, of course, do they have proof of this? No. But every single mainstream media outlet was covering it, pushing the same exact thing, that something was going to happen, trying to convince the people that this was going to happen, even though all the indicators, unemployment, GDP, the stock market, everything that we're looking at tells a completely different story. Now, for those people that have been following me, you understand that all of this is manipulated. We're living in an illusion. It's all smoke and mirrors. Remember that. And this is a battle between the deep state, the central bank, the mainstream media, Trump, and the patriots. Trump and the patriots are using all their tools against them. Look at the stock market. Look at the unemployment numbers. Look at GDP numbers. We're doing fantastically. So that's that. And you can see they tried to push a recession. Then the Federal Reserve came out and said, listen, we're not looking at a recession whatsoever. Now, what are they going to do? Is the mainstream media going to come out and say, hey, don't believe the Fed? They've been protecting the Fed all along. And the Fed, they're the ones who control the economy. You're going to go against the Fed? Absolutely not. Again, Trump and the patriots, they're using the tools against the deep state, the mainstream media, and the central bankers. Remember, there are good central bankers and bad central bankers. And those bad central bankers, they want to collapse. They want to bring the system down. They want to get rid of Trump. We know that from Dudley. He came out and said, listen, we should be doing everything possible to get Trump out of office. And if it means crashing the economy, we will do it. Look at the UK. We're seeing smoke and mirrors the same as here in the United States. What is Boris Johnson trying to do? He's trying to have a no-deal Brexit. What is the establishment? What is the EU trying to do? They're trying to stop him. Now, we see all over the place, they came out with their articles, and we see that they're saying that, oh, he must have lied to the Queen. The Scottish courts are saying that he cannot go through with suspending Parliament. They're doing whatever they possibly can. But Euro Intelligence wrote yesterday morning, no, the Scottish courts will not stop the Brexit. Now, we discussed how Boris Johnson can send a letter, and it seems that this is exactly what Boris Johnson is going to do. Johnson is required by the Act to send a letter to the European Council requesting an extension until January 31st, 2020. But the Act only requires that he send this letter on October 19th. Even then, he only has to send the letter if Parliament hasn't agreed to either a deal or a no-deal exit by that date. Both scenarios being explicitly allowed by the legislation. Moreover, it allows Johnson to withdraw the letter if the House of Commons votes in favor of either a withdrawal agreement or a no-deal Brexit between the 19th of October and the 31st of October. The central bank establishment, they committed a strategic error. It was a mistake to leave the machinery of government in Johnson's hands between now and October 31st. He will be the only person in the room negotiating and speaking to other heads of government. The establishment, the central bank, the EU, they're in trouble. They know this. They're trying to stop Boris Johnson. And the mainstream media, the establishment, the EU, they're doing everything in their power to stop him. They don't want this to go through, because once it goes through, it's a disaster. For who? The central bank. Because people around the world, in other countries, they're going to realize that the central bank was not good for the people. It was not good for the country. It didn't benefit anyone except the non-elected leaders. And once the UK, with the interim deal with the US that Trump is going to make with Boris Johnson, guess what? The UK is going to do very, very well. Now, in the beginning, yes, it might be a little tough. They might have to go through bumps. But whenever you transition out of something into something else, there's always bumps. That's not what they're worried about. Yes, they'll play that up and say, oh, see, we told you. What they're worried about is a couple months down the line. What they're worried about is a year down the line. This is when things get scary. This is when they panic. Because now other countries are going to say, well, wait a minute, they went through a couple bumps, but now the country is thriving. Look how great they're doing. They have these free trade deals. They work outside of the EU. This is incredible. We should follow in their footsteps. And guess what? We can create our own currency. We won't need the EU. This is what they're afraid of. Now, back in the US, we've been talking about how Trump controls the economic narrative. Remember, the Fed handed him the ability to say that there is no recession in sight. And the mainstream media is not going to go up against the Fed. Yes, they might say, well, we don't think the Fed is doing this the right way, but we'll go along with the Fed because they're the masters of the economy. And you know that Trump and the Patriots, they are in complete control. How do you know this? Well, in the beginning, they started to put out all these recession articles, and it was repeated on the mainstream media. Then they backtracked. Then the Fed came out, and they can't mention recession anymore, because every time Trump comes up with new numbers, they look better and better. The market didn't crash when the Fed lowered the rate. It didn't plummet. It wasn't a disaster. When the Fed cuts rates again and starts stimulus, they said everything's going to fall apart. You're going to see the opposite happen. They know this. They're trying to get ahead of this, and they're trying to cause it, but it won't work. And the reason why you can tell that Trump and the Patriots, they are in complete control, is because we had a Democratic debate, and the candidates, the moderators, they never, ever mentioned the economy. Now, during the 3-hour debate, Democrats talked about free health care, climate change, gun control, and everything else that they want to get rid of. But one topic you would think would be very important, and it is very important, because anyone that controls the economy, anyone that can make people's lives better by allowing them to get a job, allowing them to keep a job, allowing their investments to grow, and not bringing the U.S. into a recession or a depression, that person controls the economy. That's what Trump is doing right now. And they know they can't go up against this. Because what are they going to say? They're going to say we're going to make it better than it is today? What are they going to do to improve it? I mean, look what happened when Trump cut taxes. They tried to put out stories that this wasn't really happening and it was actually hurting people and people weren't getting the tax cuts. which was fake, phony, and false. For those people that own businesses, they saw them. I've been in touch with many people, and they said, oh yeah, we saw it. And guess what? Trump knows he needs to keep this economy going. He understands the only way to keep it going is to cut rates, to add stimulus, and to put more money in the pockets of the everyday person. Why does he need to do this? Because 70% of GDP is spending. So how do you give people more money to spend or to feel good about their household? Can you force a raise and give them a raise? No. Can you just create currency and just throw it at them? No. But even though the central bank does want to do that, it's called helicopter money. And we know that the deep state, the Dems, they're all for that. But right now, how do you get more money, or I should say currency, into the pockets of the people? You cut taxes. And when you cut taxes, people will have more currency in their pocket. They will be happy. They will feel good. They'll say, wow, I have an extra 1,000, I have an extra 500, I have an extra 200, or in some cases, people might have an extra 5,000. And guess what? They'll say, I'm going to save it, I'm going to spend it, but I feel good. I like what he's doing. And guess what? Trump has this secret weapon. He's going to use it. And he's going to take this economy and he's going to put it over the edge. And I don't mean to collapse. I mean, he's going to bring it to heights that we've never seen before, where people feel incredible. Now remember, this is all smoke and mirrors. But he has to do it because this is a central bank smoke and mirrors economy. But he's going to do this in 2020. He said he will unveil a middle income tax plan in 2020. And this is control. Because once he does that, and remember, timing is everything. He's waiting until 2020. Why? Oh, it's the elections. Timing is very important. Think about it. The tax period is going to be coming up in April of 2020. He's going to propose a tax cut. Hopefully he can get it in before that period so people will feel it. If people feel it, they're going to feel good. Who are they going to vote for? Well, he kept the economy up. You have more money in your pocket. Well, people like that. My investments are still there. The stock market's going higher and higher, which means my investments are okay. They're safe, even though we know they're never safe. But people will feel this. And he needs to do this because he needs to keep the system going long enough to move to the next phase. And that is removing the central bank. And that is where we are headed. Remember what he's doing. He's recreating the entire economic system, piece by piece. Yes, it would be great if we could do it all at once, but we know there are certain blocks. We know there are certain individuals that won't want this to happen. Look what happened when he tried to get rid of Obamacare, for instance. Remember Obamacare? That was a drain on people. Premiums continually went higher and higher, and people had less to spend, and they were just spending it on insurance. This was not affordable at all. Most of the middle class who had their own businesses, they paid a fortune for health care. Yes, for the poor, they got subsidized. But remember, the population as a whole, that system cannot be sustained. That's why it was collapsing. That's why the exchanges were going bankrupt left and right. And this wasn't during Trump's term. This was during Obama's term that the exchanges were going bankrupt. And we reported on that very often during this entire period of time. But you have to remember, if Trump could do it all, he would do it all. But there are certain blocks that they have to get rid of first. And what they do is they tackle this problem, They fix that problem. They go after the next problem, block. They go after another problem, fix it, come back to the block, get rid of that block, fix that problem. This is how they've been working. And Trump is doing this with the economy. This is why he changed NAFTA. I think eventually what he's going to do, he's just going to scrap the whole thing. But it was so tied up with Congress that he could only make changes. And I believe what he's going to do eventually is completely get out of it because he wants something completely different. Just like he's making the deals around the world. And what he's doing, he's recreating this economic system, a new economic system that will work in the benefit of the people here in the United States, not for the benefit of the globalist, of the central bank, of the elite. That's the big difference, and this is why they're trying to stop him at every turn, because he's undoing what they have. Remember when he does this, he's affecting the way these people make money. They have the inside track. They know how the system works, and they have inside information. When he removes all this, what happens to these people? They lose the inside track. They lose the ability to speculate. They lose the ability to do all of this. That's why he is a threat to them. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.